Good morning, everybody. Monday morning. I hope you're all feeling okay, not feeling too weary after the weekend. So Friday we had another fantastically positive day in the US markets. We saw the Dow up 0.9%, the Nasdaq was up 2.7%, the UK also was up, the FTSE was up just over 1%, Japan, Shanghai, all up. So all in all, a very, very positive day all round. Those of you that know me know that I like to talk about my bundle, being the four huge cap tech stocks which I believe everybody in the world should own, being Microsoft, Facebook, Google and Apple. And if you look at the performance of those four stocks on Friday, they were up an average of 5.8%, with Microsoft being the star, up over 10% on the day. That compares to the Nasdaq, as I mentioned, being up 2.7%. So, it's always a good indicator to just have a look at how those four stocks perform in comparison to the market as a whole. And I think over time you'll see the growth in those four companies far exceed any market movements. So once again, I reiterate my point about the necessity to be exposed to those companies in some way. I mean, Apple, for example, just to give you some, absolutely staggering figures about this company. I mean, this year, their revenue, they're looking at making $230 billion. Now, I know it's a number, but when you break that down, it's a staggering amount of money. I mean, to give you an idea, it's the equivalent of making $26 million every single hour, or over 438,000 US dollars every minute. Every minute of every day, of every week, of every month, for the whole year. And those numbers are only going to increase. And even if the revenue doesn't increase, they're managing to keep their costs down, because the profits this quarter reported were $18 billion profit. Now, if you compare that to last year, when they made $40 billion during the year, you're looking at a company which has almost doubled its profitability. And couple that with the enormous growth of and the enormous size of their revenue, not only is it the biggest company in the world, but now it's the most profitable company in the world. Now, anyone that doesn't own it or doesn't have exposure to it, then they're certainly missing a trick there. Currencies remain fairly stable. Again, obviously, the US dollar strengthened against most major currencies, ever so slightly. 110 against the euro now, 153 against sterling, 121 against Japanese yen, and 635 and 35.50 against the Chinese yuan and the Thai baht, respectively. So all in all, everything's looking very, very positive. I mean, yes, of course, we can probably expect to have a little bit of profit getting taken off the table when America opens this morning. But at the same time, if the fundamentals are there and their strength is there, then I'm a great believer that will shine through. I don't think this interest rate talk will have a huge effect on the market, whether they raise interest rates this year or whether they leave it till next year. I think, historically speaking, this is the strongest quarter. Earnings have been good so far. So I think it's time to get in. To take advantage of the trend and get on board the markets. I mean, on the sporting fronts, we had the Rugby World Cup this weekend, as you know, semi-finals. The sponsors got what they wanted. It's New Zealand against Australia, and to be fair, probably the two best teams in the tournament, and so deservedly so. And good luck to them, and we look forward to that next week. I have to give my team, West Ham United, a mention. Okay, we beat Chelsea this weekend, and Chelsea, admittedly, are not having the easiest of times, but they're still a world-class outfit with world-class players. And having watched the game, West Ham didn't only, sneak it. They competed at every single level and won the game because they were the better team. And as a West Ham fan, I'm very, very excited about, what Slaven Bilic is doing there, because he seems to have that ability that the very best managers have, where it appears that every single one of his players is playing to the best of their ability and trying their hardest. And that's what the greatest success stories in sport management. You know, that's what those managers have. They have that ability to get the best out of every single player. And whilst talking about greats, of course, Mourinho, the other side of the coin, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. You know, will he walk? He says he won't. Will Abramovich get rid of him? I mean, clearly, if either of those two things happen, that will be a dent on his legacy. So it's interesting to watch this space because, you know, if he wants to be considered amongst the all-time greats, very few of those were ever sacked or were ever, you know, sort of jumped ship when times got tough. So two things could happen here from Mourinho. Either he could completely turn it around and cement his legacy and be seen as possibly the greatest of all time, or, you know, he could be right down the pecking order. So interesting stuff. I've gone quite a bit over my time today already. I can see my clock approaching nearly 6 minutes, so apologies for taking up too much of your time. But I still want to, you know, give you a couple of quotes for the day. First one is in relation to pensions. As you know, we're very interested here in ensuring that people have their, you know, retirement sorted, and then they have nothing to worry about. And a rather startling fact is that if you had £100,000 sterling pension pot, that would only give you the average annuity provider would only give you £5,800 a year. Now, you know, I don't know, that's a pittance. I mean, you know, that's certainly not enough to live on. There are many other ways you can manage that differently. So even with the 100,000, or obviously you want more saved, but even if you haven't, there's ways that you can manage things differently. So again, you know, I'd urge you to come and have a chat with us about that. Finally, quote of the day. I was watching a documentary on Saturday about Confucius, the famous Chinese philosopher, and one of his comments was, "When it is obvious that goals cannot be reached, don't adjust the goals, adjust the steps." So there we have it then. It's all in the planning. It's all about the steps. You know, make it happen for yourself, okay? But how you make it happen for yourself is coming to speak to someone like me or another financial advisor who can help you along the way. Okay, all the best. Have a nice Monday. Bye-bye.